In a few minutes, Henry and Benny were climbing up a ladder to a sleeping loft at one end of the cabin, pulling their packs and suitcases behind them. "Wow," said Henry. "This is cool." He looked around the loft, tucked under one end of the sloping roof. 2 narrow beds were pushed against each wall. A skylight let in the last rays of the sun above them. "I like it here," Benny said. He began to unpack. "Me too," agreed Henry, doing the same. At the other end of the cabin, Violet and Jessie were unpacking in a loft that looked just like the boys'. Down below, they could hear Maris talking to Grandfather as he unpacked his things. The good smell of stew filled the cabin. "I'm hungry," Benny said suddenly. He leaned over the railing that enclosed the loft and sniffed. "Very hungry." "Me too," called Jessie from the other loft. "Come on down," Maris said, looking up at them. "As soon as the table is set, we can eat." Benny scrambled on the ladder in a flash, and soon all 4 Alden children had the table set. They ate hungrily. Soon they'd cleaned their plates and started on second helpings. The mountain air had made them all hungry. "I like this cabin," said Jessie. "It's sort of like living in the boxcar." The Aldens told Maris the story of how they had become orphans and gone to live in an abandoned boxcar in the woods. They hadn't known that their grandfather was looking for them and wanted them to come live with him. "Then he found us, and we live in Greenfield now," Violet said. "Grandfather put the boxcar in the backyard, and we can visit it whenever we want." "An amazing story," said Maris. "And now I know what to do if I ever need more room in my cabin. I'll just get a boxcar." Benny suddenly yawned. He covered his mouth. "Excuse me," he said. "We should all go to bed early tonight," Grandfather said. "I'm not sleepy," Benny insisted, but his eyes drooped. "Well, going to bed early is a good idea," said Maris, "because when you get up in the morning, I'm going to have a surprise for you." Benny sat up. His drooping eyelids opened wide. "What is it?" he asked. "Is it a mystery? We're good at solving mysteries." "There are a few mysteries in these mountains, but that's not the surprise," said Maris. "What kind of mysteries?" asked Henry. He and the others forgot about the surprise for a minute. "Well, the most famous mystery is the mystery of Stagecoach George," Maris said. "Who is Stagecoach George?" asked Jessie. "Once upon a time, about 100 years ago, maybe more, a very unlucky bandit named Stagecoach George robbed the local stagecoach. It was carrying a big strongbox full of gold to the bank. He got the loot, made his escape, and headed for what is now known as Blizzard Gap. He knew no one could catch him in these wild mountains. But Stagecoach George never had any luck that wasn't bad," Maris went on. "He got halfway up Blizzard Mountain, that's the tallest and wildest of these mountains, and the snow started falling. His horse was getting tired too, so George decided to bury the loot and come back for it later. Well, he just finished hiding the loot when his horse went crazy on him. The horse snorted and reared, and then it jerked the reins free from George's hand and tore off on down the mountain." "Oh, no," breathed soft-hearted Violet. "Poor Stagecoach George." That's when he heard an awful roar up the mountain above him, like 1,000 trains thundering down the track, with 1,000 tornadoes right behind them. "Uh-oh," Benny said. "I bet I know what that was." "Right," Maris said, and George knew just what it was, too. It was an avalanche. He jumped just like his horse had done. It had known something was wrong, the way animals do. Anyway, George jumped and tried to run, but it was too late. "And that was the end of Stagecoach George?" asked Henry. "Yep," Maris said. She leaned back. "Except some people claim they've seen his ghost. They say it's guarding his treasure, trying to figure out a way to dig it up and take it off the mountain." "Wow," said Jessie. "That's a great story. Maybe we can find the treasure." "Or the ghost," said Benny. "No such thing as a ghost," Grandfather reminded them, "but it is a good story." "And there might be such a thing as treasure buried by the avalanche," Maris said. She shook her head. "At least some people still think so." "Can we go look for the treasure on Blizzard Mountain?" Benny asked. "We might be able to arrange a trip to the mountain," Maris said. "Now, who wants dessert?" "Just a little," said Benny. Everyone laughed, and Benny grinned. He never said no to dessert. Benny went to bed with his head full of stagecoach robbers and surprises. He was sure he would never be able to fall asleep. but the minute he closed his eyes, he fell into such a deep sleep that he didn't even notice his brother climbing up into the loft, or hear Henry say softly, "Night, Benny," before he too got into bed and fell asleep. Jessie fell asleep right away too, but Violet lay awake for a little while longer. She thought about stagecoach robbers and avalanches and ghosts. Once she thought she heard a sound outside the cabin. She peered through the narrow window by her bed, but she couldn't see anything except how very, very dark it was.